So I'm going to tell you the story about Annie. When we went to Bugnai in Kalinga, uh, because one of our preachers had some relatives there, and he took us there to try to talk to them. Nothing came of that. But there was a religious organization that from Australia called YWAM, World Youth with a Mission. They had built a chapel in the village and had an elder that was responsible for doing whatever they did there. I don't know what it was. And after the first Bible study, he came and asked us to use the chapel. Why not? So we did. And after that meeting, I took the kids outside and taught them around the walls of Jericho, running in a circle and falling down for an hour. And so I felt really strong that we should go back there. I wasn't personally the one that went back, but Vaughn Corbally, another teacher from here, it worked out that it worked in 2 of his trips. And in his second trip, he had preachers, Filipino preachers with him. They actually baptized that man and his neighbor and his neighbor's daughter. The neighbor was killed 1 week after the baptism because that tribe and a tribe from the other province that share a boundary have a war that's been going on for about 100 years. And so people die often. Well, he was out in his field and somebody took a pot shot at him and killed him a week after he was baptized. So his daughter and Gregorio, the original guy, were our 2 church members there. So here I went up there and we started working. Well, there was a 7-year-old girl that I only know now that she was 7. She looked like she was 12. She was really tall. And she came, she helped wash the dishes. She just hung around, running errands, whatever we needed. She was there for the Bible school. We weren't doing color pictures. We were just telling a story. We didn't really observe her scholastic ability. We just observed that she was always there. And at the age of 13, I asked her to go with me. We were going to Gregorio's daughter, lived a 2-hour hike up the mountain. We were going to her place to share. And this girl was always there. So I said, you want to go with us? And yeah, she went with us up the mountain. And I took videos of her climbing the mountain stuff. She was so tall and gangly. It was really interesting. But we still didn't observe her scholastic ability, even my helpers who'd been with me for many years. And so when she was 16, I thought, well, I want to take her out in the trip, outside of this village. She's probably never been anywhere, And so I invited her, and her mother said, okay. So we climbed up to the road. It was like a 20-minute hike up just to get to the road. We got up to the road, and the one Jeep a day that goes by, we got on it, and we were on the top of the Jeep because it's full inside. And so my 2 helpers were toward the front, and then I was at the back, sitting on the side of the roof with our feet hanging over. And about the second curve we went around, my feet were wet, and it wasn't raining, and I wondered why my feet are wet, and looked at her. She had just vomited on my feet. She had no ability. She had never gone anywhere in a vehicle. She didn't realize car sickness, it just hit her. So 4 hours later, we got to town, and we nursed her through that. Okay, the next 3 weeks, she did everything. She was the best volunteer you could have, but nothing about the Bible. She just washed the clothes, washed the dishes. When we hiked, we can do this, we can do that. She understood well enough, because we were speaking Ilocano, she understood well enough that we didn't observe that she couldn't read or write. We didn't know that. And actually her Ilocano was very simple because that isn't her language. But being with us, she got along. And we hiked over the mountain. She carried a huge load. She was super strong. We hiked over the mountain 2 days hike to go to our last place. And we were stranded there for 5 days in a storm, and everything was fine. And so Annie went home. Well, the next year, I said, I'm getting Annie in the trip, man. That's great. So as soon as she got with us, we sat down to have a Bible study, and I asked her to read a verse. Well, she could read and it and of kind of words, in Ilocano. That was it. So I went, oh, no, she's not going to be reading. She's got to learn how to read first. That was a shock. So after the trip, I sent her to Geraldine's, my super person for my lead trip leader, sent her to Geraldine's house for 8 months. She lived with Geraldine. Geraldine lives in a region that's on the line of Tagalog and Ilocano speaking. She learned both languages, and quite rapidly. She's very smart. And so when I went back, she wasn't really reading, but she was talking fluently in both of those languages. And she told me, I'm going to learn English also. You teach me. So it started, and 4 years later, she could understand, she could read enough, and she got baptized. And then she just took over the trips. She became the team leader. And she understood the concepts about identifying interested people, what to do to get people to grow spiritually. And then we were at the end of a trip, and I had to say goodbye to her. I said, what are you going to do for the next 6 months? And she said, well, Rhoda has working at this casino changing beds. I'm going to try to get a job there. I said, okay, I'll leave you here then. You let me know if you need to go somewhere else. I'll help you. Left her there. She's 22 or like 22, 23. Left her there. Now she's 25 by that time. I left her there. Rhoda's father died. He was the elder in our church. And he had a nephew that had never listened to anything in our church because his family was devoted in the Church of Christ. But when Rhoda's father died, that nephew came to listen to the funeral. And our preacher, Lito, just taught what he would teach at a funeral. And that young man came to Lito and said, I didn't know your church didn't believe the Trinity. I don't believe the Trinity also. And so Chris immediately moved from the Trinitarian church right over to our church. And 6 months later, Annie said, we're getting married. And she married him. He's excellent. He took over preaching in that church, leading the congregation. Annie takes him all over northern Luzon, drags him out, and does Bible studies everywhere. And this year is the first time that I got to watch Annie actually teach. I had her with me in Bugnay, where she grew up, and there's 10 kids. Sat down and I said, Annie, got to teach these kids. Well, she had been translating to help the other teachers because they would teach in Tagalog or Ilocano. The kids would half get it, and she would fill in. She just sat down there and explained to them how God made Adam and how God made Eve. And I recorded it. I got this little recording that maybe you saw it. I posted it a couple of days ago on Philippines Evangelism site. And she's just the most amazing product of our work. And she's 30 years old now and has a 2-year-old. And she said, that's it. We're only having one child, and I can carry her everywhere we're doing the church work, which she has. She was 5 months pregnant when she made her first trip to Mindanao. She went with me to Visayas and Mindanao. We did a 10-day hike over the mountain. She was 5 months pregnant. We hiked highest high mountains. No problem. And at the end of the trip, she got to see everybody she wanted to see, people that she had known, people she hadn't known. And then she had the baby, and when the baby was 2 months old, after a cesarean, she put the baby on her back and went back to Bugnay and did Bible school. We don't have people that are like that.